Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. A familiar face hopefully will be returning to the Patriots next season. According to the Boston Herald's Andrew Callahan on his podcast, Pat's Interference, great name by the way, it's no Patscast, but a good name. The Patriots are in contract talks with now free agent Kendrick Bourne to potentially bring him back to the team. Now, who is doing the negotiating? Is it Gerard Mayo or Matt Groh? A combination of the two. We don't really know how that's playing out at the moment. But the good thing is those talks are happening for bringing back Bourne. And in my opinion, bringing back Kendrick Bourne is very important when it comes to rejuvenating that receiving core. Before tearing his ACL in Week 8 at the Miami Dolphins game, Bourne was putting up career numbers with 37 receptions for 406 yards and 4 touchdowns. This was ahead of pace from his career best season back in 2021, which was his first year in New England, where he caught 55 passes for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, he did have a bit of an off year in between with Matt Patricia. There were some issues. He was kind of put on the bench a little bit, but it seemed to work out in year 3, just as it did in year 1 when he worked with Josh McDaniels. When you have a real good offensive coordinator, whether it's McDaniels or Bill O'Brien, they work well with Kendrick Bourne, and certainly Mac Jones did a great job at throwing him the football. One of the few things Mac Jones actually did well this past season. And the good news is, coming off an injury, the Pats likely will be able to bring Bourne back at value relative to what he could have cost had he put up an 80-catch, 900-yard season, which he likely would have done had he not gotten injured. To give you some perspective, Bourne signed a 3-year deal in 2021 worth $15 million. It's possible $5 million a pop could be enough when factoring in his recent injury history. Hopefully he bounces back, but assuming he does bounce back, this is perhaps the first step in rejuvenating that Patriots receiving core that's really been lacking since about 2018. I mean, we know Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker simply aren't producing. We saw a little bit from Parker toward the end of the year with Bailey Zappi. He looked a little bit better, but Parker is not the wide receiver one you wanted him to be when Bill Belichick brought him in. Juju did not replace Jacoby Myers. He was hurt much of the year, and that's always going to be a question with Juju. Tyquan Thornton is a bust. I think it's safe to say that. And nobody is getting excited about Jalen Reagor. So you got to bring back Kendrick Bourne because he is one of the few pieces that is working right there. But the Pats, they're going to want to move quickly here if they do want to bring back Kendrick Bourne because of one individual who could potentially steal him, and that's Bill Belichick. We don't know what's going to happen with Belichick. We know he had an interview with the Atlanta Falcons. I expressed yesterday he's got to at least consider the Dallas Cowboys job or the Philadelphia Eagles if both of those teams do in fact move on from their head coaches. But right now, things are lining up for Belichick to go to Atlanta. Washington doesn't seem to be interested. There is some interest with Carolina, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. And the Chargers seem to want to go the Jim Harbaugh route. So you don't want to lose Kendrick Bourne, and it is a bit of an odd pairing, but Bourne and Belichick really do like working with each other. Couldn't be more opposite personalities between those two, but Bourne has expressed, and he said this on social media, that he would love to follow Bill wherever he goes next. So take from that what you will. If Belichick goes to Atlanta, you know he's going to, if he gets the GM role kind of like he's done in New England, he's going to at least consider bringing in a guy like Kendrick Bourne, although I'm not sure Atlanta needs it as much as the Patriots do. That said, Bourne has also been very open about his love for the Patriots organization and has also publicly expressed he would like to return to the team. In fact, yesterday he posted a link to his merch store saying, "Pats fans, if y'all order some merch, I'm coming back." Now, I don't think that's going to be the reason Kendrick Bourne decides to return or not based on how many t-shirts or sweatpants he sells, but perhaps Bourne wouldn't be comfortable posting something like that if he didn't think he was close to re-signing with the team. Either way, BourneDrip.com. It's best to buy some if you want to be safe. He's not paying me to say this. This podcast is not anywhere near big enough to be an affiliate of Kendrick Bourne Shop. That said, Bourne, if you're watching, you want to hook me up, I will not complain. I will gladly wear your merch on this podcast. I do think it's very important the Patriots do this because Kendrick Bourne is working at a position that has not been working in New England for quite some time, And look, now you have Demario Douglas. He was a hit in the 6th round last year. He's your next great slot receiver of the future. Hopefully he puts on a little bit of muscle, adds a little bit of durability there, but he's as good as they come when it comes to that Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Troy Brown, Jacoby Myers type role. I really expect Demario Douglas, if he stays healthy, to have a really great year too, especially now that he probably won't be put in the doghouse if he fumbles the football. Hopefully he holds on the football a little bit better, but Douglas, really great at that slot receiver role. You bring back Kendrick Bourne. Hopefully you can re-sign or franchise tag Hunter Henry to keep some consistency at the tight end spot. Tight ends are cheap when it comes to franchise tagging. I think that's an obvious thing to do. And then you're at least keeping the core there that is working, aside from Juju and Devontae Parker and Jalen Reagor and Thornton and them. You're going to be pretty good if you bring back Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, and Hunter Henry, and those guys are able to stay healthy. Pharaoh Brown really was a strong contributor, especially early and late in the season. You can probably bring him back for a couple million, hopefully. So there you go. Then if you have Bill O'Brien back, you got your 2 tight ends. You got some competent B+ receivers in there. And I'm just saying, you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3rd overall, make him your wide receiver number 1, the first outside threat the Patriots have really had since Randy Moss. Suddenly you go from having one of the worst receiving cores in the league to one of the best, just overnight, right? So think about that. If you had Marvin Harrison Jr., Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, you're pretty good. Then whomever you have at quarterback is going to be comfortable. Pair him with a veteran like Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, or maybe Baker Mayfield, but probably not. He'll probably go back to Tampa. I think Kirk Cousins, if you brought him to New England and you gave him that receiving core, they would not be maybe a top 5 offense, but they're going to be productive on day one, and that's all you can ask for the Patriots after what we've seen the last few seasons. Or if you want to draft potentially a future franchise QB in Jaden Daniels or Drake May with that 3rd overall pick, or maybe you trade up for Caleb Williams, then you go out and sign a T. Higgins, a Mike Evans, or a Michael Pittman, get that real wide receiver 1, pair him with Douglas and Bourne, and you got a good receiving core again. Getting that receiving core right is going to work wonders for whoever's behind center, even if it is, God forbid, Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. That's it for this episode of Pat's Cast, but we'll be back all week. Gerard Mayo today will be introduced as the next Patriots head coach. I would expect a lot more dominoes to fall, perhaps when it comes to the next defensive coordinator. A lot of potential at offensive coordinator, whether it's bringing back Bill O'Brien or bringing back Josh McDaniels or looking to the outside for potential candidates there. And the GM conversation is an interesting one, right? Because like I said, Matt Groh is there still, but it sounds like Robert Kraft really is pinning all of the bad personnel decisions on Bill Belichick and giving that front office a real chance to see what they can do. So it's possible they don't actually bring in a GM, but we'll be here to cover that story the rest of the way. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, or wherever you listen to your podcast, subscribe there.